Welcome to the City of Sharonville's council meeting. If everyone would please rise, we're going to have a moment of silent prayer, and then we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance, and it's going to be led this evening by Ms. Sue Knight.
Before we get into our moment of silence, I think we all need to remember Rick Wickemeyer passed away Sunday. And he was, if they didn't know it, he was the owner of Cliff's Hardware. So if we could remember his family, I think the service is on Thursday. They're going to shut the store down on Thursday and then reopen on Friday. So if we all could keep them in our memories.
And he also served our city as a volunteer firefighter.
True. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You can be seated, please. Roll call.
Mr. Tankersley?
Here.
Mr. Wilson?
Here.
Mr. Lippert?
Here.
Mr. Duda?
Here.
Mr. Cook?
Here.
Mrs. Knight?
Here.
Mr. Schmidt?
Here.
Approval of our minutes from April 13th. Are there any additions or corrections? Seeing none, those stand as written and distributed. We'll go to reports and communication. Mayor Hardman.
I don't think I have anything that's not going to be covered by other folks. I'm looking forward to hearing Michael Blomer's update on our recreation department. Hopefully you are too, but if you have any questions for me, I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Safety Service Director, Mr. Lucas.
Thank you. The legislation this evening, the first piece of ordinance, or the first ordinance is 2021-27E, dealing with some debt. Margaret Comey's on, and Scott McKeon's here to address this as well.
Good evening. Yes, ordinance 2021-27E is the approval of our annual note rollover. The highlight here is we are reducing the annual note from an outstanding balance of $6 million down to $2 million. So that's making a $50,000 reduction in principal on the amount related to the convention center, and making just short of $4 million reduction in the balance of what's owed on the police station. So some significant pay downs there. If you have any questions, I can answer that, or like we said, we have Margaret handy. If anybody has specifics. This will price in early June, so probably not as good of a rate as last year. I think last year we priced and we had the best one-year note rate on a note since 2013 in the state of Ohio. So it was a very good day in the market. So we cashed in a lot of our bonus points then.
Does anyone have questions? I don't see any. Thank you very much, Scott.
Thanks. I'll go ahead and while I'm here, touch on ordinance 2021-28. That's an appropriation ordinance. There's two things going on here. We are appropriating an additional $22,500 in capital grant funds. This is the capital, the grant portion of the electric vehicle charging grant for the charging stations that'll be going on Chester Road in front of the convention center. There is also $34,357.76. This is to cover some damages to a traffic control box at Chesterdale intersection in Kemper that was damaged in a vehicular wreck late last year, kind of as we were putting the budget together. So we've received the insurance reimbursement, and we need to pay some bills to get those repairs done. Not something we can absorb in the. We deal with these often, $5,000 to $10,000 at a time. This was kind of beyond what we were able to absorb in the budget. Any questions? Thank you.
Ordinance 2021-29E deals with the electric vehicle grant that Scott mentioned. This legislation would accept that grant. There was a slight change because of the demand for all the grant requests statewide. They didn't award as much money to the grant recipients. So our local share, and John Creech's via Zoom, is somewhere between $13,000 and $14,000, which is about double what we had initially thought. And that'll be paid through TIF dollars because these are going to be placed on the convention center's parking lot. Again, John's available if anybody has any questions. Great. And then the last ordinance, 2021-30E, is the final piece of legislation that we need regarding the ODOT project on 42 and Hawk Road. It's pretty standard legislation that you've seen before. We are asking for an emergency piece of legislation this evening. Everything that we have to give them has to be in their hands by May 13th. So technically we could wait until May 11th, but in case there's any quorum issues or anything like that, administration and law committee agreed that the emergency was the way to go. That's it.
To start off this evening, first of all, I wanted to say what a really big Saturday was. So many volunteers that came out. Thank you to Sharonville who organized this, and they provided all the trash bags, the gloves. They had safety vests if you wanted a safety vest. Money is throwing his trash. But I personally just did swing road down to Mayflower with my husband, and we had 3 large garbage bags full of trash. And behind this building, that dumpster was full Saturday afternoon. So everyone did a great job. Steve Meyer and his wife and friends were there. It was really nice to see some people out. It was a great volunteer opportunity. And Cheryl did a great job doing it. And tonight, I get the pleasure of a new friend on Saturday as I was doing this. And he happens to be speaking with us tonight. His name is Robert Stevenson, if you would like to come on up. And welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me. If you don't know it, I'm representing the Northeast chapter or club of Rotary. It used to be the Montgomery Blue Ash, and then we changed the name a couple of years ago because we covered a larger area than that. If you don't know, Rotary is an international service organization. Started in 1905 in Chicago. We now have 1.2 million members around the world, about 35,000 different clubs. Our motto is service above self, and we work to promote peace, to fight disease, educate about clean water and sanitation, hygiene, promote education. One of the local projects we do for education is we give dictionaries to 3rd graders, about 1,000 dictionaries every year. And you think, well, who would want a dictionary when they have all this stuff online? You'd be amazed the kids who would get those dictionaries, they just enthralled. Some of the kids, that's the only book in their house. Some of the teachers say, I still have mine when I was a 3rd grader. So it's a fun thing that we do. We also assist the local economies. Rotary is probably best known for our efforts along with the World Health Organization to eradicate polio worldwide. We've been at it for since 1970s, and now we're this close. Tonight, I'd like to tell you more, looking ways to extend our service into the Sharonville community, to identify neighborhood projects where we as a club can become involved. These are projects that may already be in the thinking or planning stages, but might lack initial support in the construction or the funding phase to get them started. Examples might have been the looking back in history, where the Veterans Memorial on Thornview. or if something needed to be done at Gower Park, that we could do something with playground equipment, something of that.
And our recreation department chair is going to come right to you.
Nice to meet you.
Give us a report.
Give him my card.
So I want to make sure you two connect.
Sure enough. So again, I'm here tonight just to let you know that this is what we're doing, this is what we're about, and we're looking forward to getting projects that where we can be get involved. So I've left my contact information with Vicki, with Terry,
Okay.
and I thank you very much for listening.
Thank
Any
you very
questions?
much. And I've actually got a group in mind that could use you, maybe not your money, but your muscle and your willingness to help others. It's our Sharonville Community Fund, and they're always looking for volunteers to help hand out food a couple Wednesdays in the afternoons.
Okay.
So afternoon volunteers are very welcome. And I'll get you some information from them, so we can connect your two groups.
Good, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Working council, Mr. Knight?
Sorry, thanks. So I just wanted to make this announcement regarding the summer schedule. We still have 2 meetings in May, but just a reminder that there's only 1 meeting in June, that's June 22nd, and 1 meeting in July, that's July 20th. And I'll make another reminder at the end of May, but I just wanted to put that out there. And then also that your financial disclosures are due May 17th.
Thank you. Auditor, Mr. Cunningham.
Good evening, everybody. To start off, we are 25% of the way through our budget, and the general fund has spent only 16% so far, and the fire fund 21%. So on that front, doing well. Secondly, no transfers to mention this go around, so no more to say there. And lastly, you've heard me talk about our working cash in prior meetings, and perhaps it was a little lower than we wanted, and there was reasons for that. Our working cash is now hovering over our goal or our threshold that we want to be now, so that's why we don't jump off bridges, and so we're back to where we should be. So that is my report.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Please don't jump off the bridge.
No.
We made it through 2008, and that will be fine. All right, our treasurer, Mr. Irie.
Good evening, everybody. As you'll see in the tax report that Mr. McKeon distributed, we had a very good first quarter. In fact, it was the best first quarter on record in terms of revenue and collections. Remarkably, we were it was the best March and the best first quarter, driven in large part by the business profits, which were up double and almost triple, double at least of what the business profits were in 2020 and triple in the case of 2019. So way ahead of pace in terms of collections for first quarter. So at least that provides us some buffer for the rest of the year, as we know there might be some down months after this. So the year-to-date collections for the first quarter are up 2.94%. Of course, the lodging tax is down 35% year-to-date. In terms of our selected funds, revenue is about on pace with 25% for the year. We're a little bit ahead of that thus far, so that's good news. So that's my report.
Are there any questions? Thank you very much. Our law director, Mr. Pete Meyer.
No report?
Okay, thank you. And now we come to Mr. Palmer, our recreation director.
Thank you. I'm going to grab the keyboard from you.
Here's the keyboard and mouse. Very bottom.
All right. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council, city staff. For those that don't know me, my name is Michael Blomer. I'm proud to serve as the City of Sharonville Recreation Director, now in my third year. Just recently celebrated my 3-year anniversary. And I'm excited to be here tonight to present my 2020 report to council. My report is much different than last year. Last year I was on Zoom, so I was wearing flip-flops, basketball shorts, and a shirt and tie. So I'll admit that now. So it's a little bit different. Like I said, I'm really proud to present this report to you guys. But I want to take some time and read a few things to you. The department faced one of the most challenging years in recent memory in 2020 with the global pandemic and multitude of burdensome restrictions that put an abrupt end to our wave of momentum. We were really riding high as a department and doing a lot of great things. It became clear early in the pandemic timeline that the impact to our operation would be widespread and last for quite some time. We quickly turned our focus to finding opportunities to keep members, community, citizens engaged, entertained. We had a great captive audience on Facebook. We had a lot of folks that were tuned into us. So this made it really, really easy for us to kind of capture them and keep them, like I said, entertained and engaged and active as the quarantine began. Multiple posts were published daily for the duration of quarantine and after, including activities, trivia, recipes, updates, and a whole lot more. For those of you that got to see some of the fun videos, you got to see Rex do some really funny things. Our mascot, we really poured a lot into trying to be the best recreation department in the area and try to really be a leader in continuing to provide virtual recreation. As the pandemic became more serious and quarantines were extended, the need for our department to be a source of fun and normalcy during the time grew and grew. Our staff across all areas of the building met virtually over Zoom countless numbers of times, and I can't say it enough, countless numbers of times, to try and find ways to be successful and safe upon reopening, because we knew we were going to reopen. We were excited to reopen, and we kind of waited for those rules to govern how we were going to reopen. When they became available, we were already well ahead of the curve for implementation. We were proud to lead the recreation industry in our area and what I believe is the state in a responsible restart. Our communication to the public was clear, was concise, and was widespread. And our safety procedures went well above and beyond the best practices recommended by the CDC in the state. When folks returned, they felt safe. They felt excited, they felt important, and they felt taken care of. Most importantly, they felt home. And that's what we were really trying to be able to create. Pardon me. Our clear goal in January, every year we set a clear goal for our department, was to turn our focus to customer service in an effort to deepen connections and relationships within our community. I believe that what our department does is critical to our community's well-being. We are not first responders because we do not react to situations. We are creators because we are proactive to meet the needs of our community. We are vital because at the end of the day, everything that we do as a department extends people's lives and makes their life better. I really wanted to take a second to read that to you guys because it's important to me, and it's important to our staff and our department, and it's important to the folks that come in our doors every single day. And we hold that very valuable, and we live it, and we really try to show it. Knock this thing off here. A quick overview of our department. For those of you that have seen my report before, and I'll submit this all to you digitally, so you guys have a real good chance to take a look at it. This is a quick kind of 10,000-foot view of what our department looks like. Many of you are familiar with what we already do. We currently have 6 full-time employees, 25 part-time employees, and we normally have around 12 to 18 seasonal staff each summer. That includes the camp counselors and swim team coaches. We have a 50,000 square foot facility. We're open 7 days a week. And beginning in January 2021, we are now open 86 hours a week instead of 85 hours a week. We did add an extra hour on Sunday. Budget recap. I would really love to just skip right over this slide. After years of recapping Recreation Department budgets that were considered one for the record books, 2020's budget was really one to forget. We knew right away that we were going to have a lot of impact to our memberships, to our retention, a lot of impacts to our programs, Silver Sneakers. A lot of the big drivers of our budget were going to be impacted immediately. Our revenue goal in 2020 was $428,500. It's a very lofty goal. The department unfortunately finished the year at $128,173.60. We were only 29.9% to our budget goal. Our revenue comes from 7 main categories, the largest being memberships, program fees, and Silver Sneakers. In 2020, we were down in all categories. Good news to report, though, that our year-end expenses finished more than $365,000 below. Now, if you remember, we did not stop paying employees. So we were able to really cut in other areas, and we paid a lot of attention to our expenses for the remainder of the year. This resulted in an 8.5% cost recovery, which is a far cry from 2019's 24.7%. But we feel like we did a really good job with what we were up against. Some project successes that we were able to enjoy in 2020. Many of the capital projects were pushed to 2021 as a result of the pandemic. However, there were 2 projects that really stood out of projects of note that were completed last year. The one being the Gorman Park Playground, which couldn't have come at a better time. The community really, really needed that playground. And they needed it at a time when kids were home. They needed it at a time when parents needed their kids to go out and play. And phase 1A of the Gorman project was completed. And as you see here through some of the pictures, the playground's beautiful. And we've already have a ton of compliments, a ton of playground goers. And actually, that's one of our inclusive swings over there that the young man and his mother were enjoying the day we were over there taking pictures. As you know, this is just fun phase 1A, and the remainder of the project is currently underway. So we got a lot of fun, exciting things to talk about for 2021. Our thriving and growing pickleball group, they have been a blessing to us, and we've had a lot of active adults playing pickleball at the community center, either Silver Sneakers members, residents, non-residents. We're excited to have them. But there are quite a few of them, and they really discovered a need to have outdoor pickleball. So we were able to successfully convert one of our tennis courts to 2 pickleball courts, and that resulted in the same number of courts for each sport. The courts, if you guys live anywhere near the area or if you frequent the area, you probably saw them playing into winter. They played on some cold days, but they really get after it, and we're really excited for them. But yeah, we were really pleased to get this project done. Our 2020 timeline, I wanted to kind of focus a little bit on our operation and how things went, what it looked like as our response to COVID. On March 13th, which was a Friday the 13th, we closed, and it was unprecedented. And I remember sitting in a meeting at the fire station with Jim and the other department heads looking around thinking, is this for real? And everything started to kind of crumble, and it was very scary at the time. Our staff was scared. I was scared. But we really relied on each other. We relied on the leadership of the city. And we came out clean, and we feel even more confident in the city now and in our leadership after having gone through a lot of this. On March 22nd, the remainder of our staff was sent home by the governor's stay-at-home order. We immediately began planning, like I alluded to earlier. You'll see me with my messed up hair and a Zoom call there with Carol, one of about probably 200. April and May, our staff, we started to find the most creative ways we could to program, keep Sharonville active through social media, through our website. In May, we were kind of given the roadmap from the state, and we took off like a rocket. We were active in creating new cleaning procedures, new ways to register, new ways to communicate with the public. We saw this as an opportunity for us to respond, and to respond quickly and to respond differently than how we've done things because we needed to. And we really, really took the time to do that. June 1st, we reopened our facility, limited capacity, pre-registration hour 1-hour time slots, and really strict cleaning procedures. I mentioned earlier that we went above and beyond the ODH and CDC guidelines and best practices. We were cleaning constantly. We still are. We still will. June 8th, we reopened the pool. The first folks into the pool, and the picture at the cover of my report you'll see is Mrs. Kathy Clark, and she was our first entrance into the pool. And I've never seen somebody so happy that the pool opened. We were able to reopen the gymnasium later that summer. We continued programming digitally while preparing for hopeful more in-person offerings. In September, we were able to increase our time slots to 2 hours, and we were also able to host our very first live in-person event. We did it in the parking lot. We drew with chalk spots in the parking spaces where people could sit for the movie night. We did a Trolls World Tour movie night, and we had over 100 people. We could tell then that people needed these events. People needed these programs. People needed recreation. And we knew then that our momentum was starting to build. More outdoor and in-person programs continued to return in October. We hosted Fossil Day at Trammell Fossil Park. We hosted our drive-through trunk or treat, which was one of the first ones in the area. We kept coming up with new and creative ways to do old traditional programs because we know that the folks in Sharonville love to make memories. They love to enjoy the things that we've always done, but we needed to find new ways to do them, and we did. And we did it successfully. SYO basketball returned, and they had a whole laundry list of rules that we had to implement, a whole list of rules that we had to follow that was completely different than what we were prepared for. So we had to create a standalone entrance outside. A lot of folks thought we were putting up FEMA tents. We got a dozen calls about the brown tents outside. Unfortunately, no, they were just entrances so people didn't get wet when they walked in. One of the things that I'm most proud of is the ability for us to get the Silver Sneakers folks back in. The older senior citizen group that we were told at the beginning of this was at the most at risk were able to return in late summer. We were able to get those folks back in and exercising in person, and that was a big deal to us as well. Our Christmas event followed all safety guidelines, and we were able to find a way to bring Santa Claus back to Sharonville. Hundreds, if not more, Christmas events across the area were canceled, and kids, it was just one loud cry that Santa Claus was not coming to town, but he came to Sharonville, and we made that happen. Programs and participation. The hardest task in 2020 was programming because we had so many of our programmers that would tee something up, dream it up, create it, plan it, program it, and then it would have to be canceled because we weren't allowed to do it. Our team constantly had to find new ways to do things, all the while not knowing if what they were planning was even going to happen. But we pushed through and we had a lot of success. At-home programming was a big part. You see that pink row at the top of the screen? It's a lot of our at-home programming. We did it digitally. We created bags for folks to come. We handed it to them in the parking lot as they drove up, and it had supplies in them for them to take home and create a Mother's Day card, a Father's Day card, a science project, a recipe, a sports day. We had a lot of success with that. Keeping our youth engaged and active was critical in 2020, and that will be for years to come. Years to come. I'm a father of 3 children, and I've already seen the difference in my kids and how this has impacted them. We know that there's a massive opportunity there, so we're not going to stop when everything ends. From team trips to Zoom classes to the slow reemergence of in-person programs, we worked really hard to find ways to offer things for the kids, and we were able to bring them back too. We hosted a Zoom Cool Critters show where the gentleman was able to actually show snakes and bugs and all kinds of cool things. We found all kinds of opportunities to have the teens go on trips where they could safely go to Perfect North following the safety guidelines or go to other locations. Physical and mental wellness also took a center stage in 2020 through a lot of our virtual programs. We offered neighborhood walking routes, fitness challenges. We posted recipes. We had free yoga classes taught by our own staff and all kinds of other stuff as well. We we probably had a lot of people get bored of seeing us in their feeds on Facebook because honestly, we posted so much. But we had a continual amount of people that said, this is great because you have turned into my daily routine of my kid doing your activity or me walking this route in our neighborhood. So people really responded in a positive way. Looking ahead, moving forward, we're hoping to rebuild that wave of momentum that we captured at the end of 2019. We know we have an uphill battle, but if any department can do it, it's us. Some major things we are working on now that you might have already seen, the exciting new ADA playground equipment coming to Gower Park, as well as the new swings. For those of the Gower Park tire swing purists out there, unfortunately, they're gone. But I will tell you that the swings we are replacing them with are just as fun, and adults can use them, Mr. Lippert. There's not. The community center's 24-year-old track will undergo renovation beginning May 10th. That was a 2020 project that got pushed back, but we're excited to start that. Gorman Park is going to come to the forefront in 2021. If you've been over there, you've already seen the massive amount of demolition. That project is currently out to bid. So we're going to start to see those things come to fruition very soon. Things that we worked really hard on, things that you guys worked really hard on to get us to this point. We're excited to be bringing back the 4th of July. And if you look at the bottom of the screen there's a little teaser. It's some pretty fireworks. That'll come back in a big way this year. The Sharonville Sharks are going to return. Camp Sharonville is going to return. And a full season of the pool is going to return. So there's a lot of great things that are happening. And we're poised, we're ready to go. And as soon as we kind of get more green light from the powers that be, we're just going to keep pouring gas on our fire. And we're really going to turn things around at Recreation. And people are going to feel that across the city, outside the city. And I think we're going to continue to lead the area and the state in the responsible restart like we did last June. One of the things I fail to do when I always do these reports is I get so jacked up, I get so excited, I fail to thank people. So it's important to me, especially after the year we've had, to thank the mayor, to thank members of council, all the city staff, but I especially want to thank my entire team at the Recreation Department. We never saw COVID-19 as a disaster, but as a speed bump on our path to success. Every single person in my department found a way to make what we had to do the new normal. And we made the community feel safe and welcome every time they walked in the door. That is why we are special. That is why our team is special. I want to thank this guy with the spray bottle, cleaning handrails while standing in the pool in the middle of summer while wearing a mask. Even with the pool restrictions, the people that came to the pool made memories and had fun. I want to thank the folks that were involved in putting the smiles on these faces. And you might not see smiles because they're hidden behind the masks, but you can look in their eyes and you can tell they're smiling. You can tell they're having a great time. So I want to thank the folks that were involved in helping us get through that and creating this special memory for these 4 young ladies. And lastly, I want to thank the community of Sharonville for hanging in there with us. We are glad that you were able to still make memories through recreation during this challenging time. And if you can't see that one very well, that's Santa behind a snow globe. And we were one of the few people to be able to do that, to make those memories. That is my report. I thank you. 2021 was kind of a hot mess, but we nailed it. Any questions?
Any questions, anyone? I think you did a great job last year. I, for one, did the yoga. I, for one, followed every day when you posted because I was at home too. And I think you guys did a fabulous job. Something you didn't talk about, your department took on Sharonville Cares. 2 of your employees, Julie and Christina, both provided their front porches to people to drop things off and took cleaning and things people needed when they needed them. And that's your department.
Yeah, we had a lot of
And-
folks that got out of their comfort zone and stepped into other roles, and
Yeah.
it worked
so
out really well.
They did a fabulous job, so thank you.
Yeah, our response, the city's response to this made it seem so much easier to go through. And I think that the community is better for it. I think everybody is better for it. And I think when we come out of this, Sharonville is going to be in a much better place too. So I know I'm grateful for that.
Anyone else? Mr. Cook?
Question and a comment. When the track goes down on May 10th, how long will that be down?
3 weeks.
3
We
weeks.
will open the lower gymnasium and sign it off so that we will create an indoor running, walking space.
Mhm.
It will obviously not be the track. The reason we chose May is the weather's going to break. It's broke today. It's a little toasty in here right now.
Yeah.
So we're going to be able to have a space indoors for the folks that really like to walk inside uninterrupted. But also we chose the warmer weather. So if the folks do choose to run outside like Mr. Cunningham, then they can do that.
All right. I want to thank you too. So someone who was a little hesitant at first using the weight room, I felt very comfortable. The protocols that were put in place. And it's so nice to be able to go there now and sit down in a chair.
Yeah.
Those are open. So if you want to just kind of sit back and relax after your workout, you can do that now. So you're starting to feel that come back to normalcy. But it was definitely a pleasure to go out there, and I felt safe participating in working out
Thank
or
you.
walking on the track. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I just said yes, thank you. Although I do appreciate you pointing out that it's a little bit toasty up here. Not everyone recognizes that. So,
Nope.
I run pretty warm.
there you go.
Thanks.
But, yeah, yes.
All right, and we're back. Now is our opportunity. Any residents that wish to be heard tonight before council, you're welcome to come up and give us your name and address. And do either one of you want to speak again? You're good? Okay, thank you. Council committees, community development, Mr. Tankersley.
Thank you. Nothing to report. I did submit the monthly community development report to Ms. Buhite, and that's it. Thank you.
Perfect. Community services, Mr. Lippard.
Thank you. We're going to meet May 5th, Wednesday at 4 o'clock in the administrative conference room. And Mr. Blomer, as always, if there is a pickleball contingent expected to attend, let us know so we can make arrangements for another location, and we'll let Mrs. Buhite know. Thank you, sir.
I'm sorry, budget and finance, Mr. Cook.
Thank you. No report this evening, but in the future, kind of heads up for the committee. I was speaking with Mr. McKeon. We will have a meeting in the future, and one of the topics we'll be discussing is a new GFOA study since it's been several years. So I'll give everyone advance warning on that. Okay. And as far as project oversight, no report there either.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Honored citizens, Mrs. Knight.
Yes, Mrs. Buhite said I should announce that I will not be at the July 20th meeting. It's my first meeting I've ever missed. I feel really bad. It was a real hard decision, but it's our company picnic, so,
No, it's not a hard decision.
okay.
Everyone
Tonight,
take a vote. We want to go with Sue, right? It's root beer day down at the Reds game.
tonight I'm going to honor all the Sharonville citizens who are keeping their lawns looking so good. In spite of our April showers, rain and snow. And I am very much looking forward to all our Mayflowers.
There you go. Nice. Thank you. Law and public safety.
Thank you. Our next Law and Public Safety Committee meeting will be May 4th, 4 p.m. here in the council chambers. Thank you.
Thank you. Rule suspension motion for a first and only reading of ordinance 2021-27E, 2021-28, 2021-29E, and 2021-30E with immediate effectivity. Is there a motion? So moved by Mr. Tankersley, second by Mr. Wilson. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, or I'm sorry, all those in favor, yes?
Yes.
Those opposed, no, and that stands. There is no unfinished business, so we'll go straight to new business.
All right. This is a first and only reading of ordinance 2021-27E, an ordinance providing for the issuance and sale of consolidated issue of various purpose notes of the city of Sharonville, Ohio, in the maximum aggregate principal amount of $2 million in anticipation of the issuance of bonds, authorizing a purchase agreement and registrar agreement, authorizing related documents, and declaring an emergency.
Is there a motion to pass ordinance 2021-27E? So moved by Mr. Wilson, second by Mr. Lippert. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Lippert?
Yes.
Mr. Duda?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mrs. Knight?
Yes.
And Mr. Schmidt.
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-27E has been approved. First and only reading of ordinance 2021-28, amending 2021 appropriations for various funds.
Is there a motion to pass ordinance 2021-28? So moved by Mrs. Knight, second by Mr. Lippert. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Lippert?
Yes.
Mr. Duda?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mrs. Knight?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt.
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-28 has been approved. First and only reading of emergency ordinance 2021-29E, authorizing the Safety Service Director to accept an Ohio EPA grant and to execute any documents and perform all activities necessary to establish an electric vehicle charging station program within the city of Sharonville and declaring an emergency.
Is there a motion to pass ordinance 2021-29E? So moved by Mr. Cook, second by Mr. Schmidt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Lippert?
Yes.
Mr. Duda?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mrs. Knight?
Yes.
And Mr. Schmidt.
Yes.
Emergency ordinance 2021-29E has been approved. First and only reading of emergency ordinance 2021-30E, authorizing entering into final participatory legislation and LPA federal ODOT-LAT project agreement for the widening of Hawk Road and declaring an emergency.
Is there a motion to pass ordinance 2021-30E? So moved by Mr. Wilson, second by Mr. Tankersley. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Lippert?
Yes.
Mr. Duda?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mrs. Knight?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Emergency ordinance 2021-30E has been approved.
Another opportunity for those wishing to be heard this evening? Seeing none, are there any other matters tonight? Is there a motion for adjournment? So moved by Mr. Lippert, second by Mr. Tankersley. All those in favor, yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. And we do stand adjourned. Thank you. Go enjoy this gorgeous weather.